Here's a bit of a preamble. Hey, you know, this whole video is just a bit of a spoof and a goof. Don't worry about it. It's none of the Great Reset isn't real. I'm doing a bit for the first part of the video, which I mentioned ahead of time because I don't want YouTube to ban me. And all of this is a bit. And I know, like, sometimes people say that and it's not a bit, but this one is.
Oh, hi there. I'm sorry, I can't reveal my identity because what I have to say is dangerous. I could be anyone. I could be Sophie Curio. I could be Big Joel. I could... Stop that. Don't put that there.
Okay, fine. Yes, I'm Thucksuck. Look, you can't be too careful. It's just that there's a lot of powerful people who want to hurt me because I know too much. It's the globalists, you see. That shadowy cabal of elites that are definitely not a coded reference to any religious or ethnic group. They're up to their old tricks again, trying to institute a one-world government with themselves at the top, crushing all of our civil liberties and enslaving us. It's called the Great Reset, and it's not like the reset button on your Sega Genesis. Oh no, it's nothing like that. Maybe you haven't heard. I'm not surprised. The lamestream media certainly won't discuss it. They're in the pocket of you-know-who. And you're not going to find info on it here on YouTube because they're cracking down on free speech and banning anyone brave enough to talk about it, except for the World Economic Forum's official propaganda. But that's to be expected. Gotta let the globalists get their message out. You see, if you let them tell it, it sounds like meaningless greenwashing. You know, like when a company wants to act like they're doing something to fight pollution or help the so-called environment, which, by the way, Google the science, doesn't exist.
Recovery from the pandemic is an opportunity. We can see rays of hope in the form of a vaccine, but there is no vaccine for the planet. Nature needs a bailout.
It looks like they're just trying to pretend that they're doing something meaningful to address climate change, when in actuality they're, you know, the guys who stand to profit from things remaining as they are. See, if you listen to the fake news they're putting out, it's just meaningless pap about how we all have to work together or some shit. But if you listen closely, you can hear hints of their sinister agenda. You see, according to the godless communists at the World Economic Forum, capitalism is dead. Yeah, you heard me right. Capitalism, dead.
Capitalism, as we know it, is dead. This obsession that we have had with maximizing profits for shareholders alone has led to incredible inequality and a planetary emergency.
Want to know what takes its place? A form of Stalinist totalitarian communism that they call stakeholder capitalism. Which is like capitalism, except you put a bunch of platitudes that make no specific promises, but talk about obviously good things, like giving people a stake in the economy and coming together and rediscovering our place in nature, yada yada yada. You'd be forgiven for thinking this is all just a series of press releases designed to give the appearance of taking meaningful action on environmental issues, but in reality, not doing anything of substance. But that's what they want you to think. Now, if you want to find the real news, you've got to go to BitChute, the free speech video platform, where people are still allowed to have independent thought. Just look at all the free speech on their front page from great educators like InfoWars, Prager University, and Holocaust Lies Exposed. But don't let the name give you a bad impression. It's a nature video about a hippo, and the point is, BitChute is where you go to find the straight facts about the Great Reset. We get the raw data, straight from the source, a bunch of unhinged shut-ins.
Welcome everyone, I'm Spiro, thanks for tuning in. We've all heard the phrase, never let a good crisis go to waste, and I would say that applies even if the crisis is engineered.
This is not a revolution. It's a blueprint for locking the nation down.
Recently, this website, greatreset.com, was set up, and it states, the pause during lockdown created by the pandemic will result in a 7% decrease in global emissions in 2020. The UN states that we need a decrease of 7.6% every year until 2030 to avoid climate and ecological disaster. This means we need to maintain the same decrease every year as if we were living in lockdown.
Now, I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the Hegelian dialectic, which is problem, reaction, solution. If you have a goal of, let's say, global governance, you may not be able to just roll this out because you'll be met with resistance, and there may be little to no justification for this agenda.
Cassie and I were kind of talking about this. It's almost like they locked everybody down and lied about it being for COVID. Then people riot and they lie and say it's about killer cops. I think these are the great corona riots of 2020, no matter what emotionally driven narrative they're going to try and give people.
Here's the basic gist of it. The globalists plan to use COVID-19, the manufactured and politicized fake virus, to bring the world economy to a halt. You can watch all these governments and businesses get in on the action. Notice how they're all desperately trying to keep the economy going at enormous cost to human life? That's obviously evidence they're trying to grind the economy to a halt. Why else would they do that unless they wanted to ruin the economy? In the chaos, they'll institute alleged green reforms that will help the so-called environment, which, by the way, no such thing. There is no environment. In reality, the reforms will weaken businesses and destroy the economy, allowing the newly weakened businesses to take over the now completely ruined economy. We're talking about a huge transfer of power away from the people and to the shadowy group of elites who, I cannot stress this enough, already control everything. Because who else would want an enormous change to the status quo other than the people who are already rich and powerful? It's obvious that they want to destroy the mechanisms through which they've become successful and wealthy. That makes perfect sense, and there's a lot of evidence for it, but unfortunately, I can't remember where I left my notes. I wrote down all the evidence, so you just have to take my word for it. It's around here somewhere. I will post an update when I find it. You see, they've been plotting this for years, everybody. Decades even. You have no idea how much they've prepared for this. In fact, if you go back to 2012, the World Economic Forum has a similarly named plan called the Great Transformation. You see? You see? They announced it all the way back then, and all the while they've been biding their time. They're so arrogant, they want to brag about all their hard work. They can't help but rub our noses in it. They're telling us what they're doing because they think we can't stop them, but also, on another level, they're lying about everything. Also, because we can't believe anything they say except that they're definitely doing something big and important. You can actually look at their agenda online. They tell you exactly what they're going to do. And curiously, it's not a set of action items, but a series of think pieces about problems that such influential people could probably have solved already, if they actually cared about them. You'd be forgiven for thinking they're just paying lip service to these ideas to improve their image. You might even think they're not actually going to change anything, let alone use the changes they propose as cover for a nefarious agenda. But no. That's all a carefully orchestrated front. Listen to this quote. They said, "You will own nothing and you'll be happy about it." That's something the World Economic Forum actually said. All in unison, they said it together. What could that mean? Other than a tacit admission that the pinkos running the show, like Prince Charles and MasterCard, want to eliminate private property and to make being unhappy about it illegal. That's the name. MasterCard. They want to be your master, more like Karl Marxter card. Now, the brainwashed sheep will tell you that the context of that statement was a prediction about what life would look like in 2030, based on how increasingly goods and services are rented to people on a subscription basis, things like Netflix or Spotify. And also, the people making that prediction point out it's actually not a good thing and will inevitably lead to increasing disparity between the rich and poor and the ability for big business to track our every move. But that's just what they want you to. The message about the dangers of the way that commerce is headed is actually a coded message about how they're going to take away your stuff, all your Funko Pops, all your Nintendo cartridges, all your sex pillows, confiscated by the state, and they expect you to be happy about it. Follow the money. And just... Jesus Christ, this is exhausting, isn't it? Like, even making fun of this nonsense is hard, because you end up defending the World Economic Forum, the High Council of World-Killing Ghouls. Like, they're so close to getting it, aren't they? Here's a conspiracy theory for you. These cranks are giving the WEF exactly what they want. Sure, it looks on the surface that they're standing up against the impositions of the World Economic Forum, but that is, quite literally, just what they want you to think. See, here's the thing. They make a big stink about the Great Reset, our chance to change things for the better with stakeholder capitalism, etc. But if that were that, people might eventually expect them to do something. Like, eventually, when you're getting a bunch of rich and powerful people together to influence global policy, and you keep saying that we need to make changes, eventually, It's time to shit or get off the pot. But along come the dipshit brigade, and they treat you merely talking about the need for big changes as though this itself somehow violates our liberty. You don't even have to do any of it. You just have to talk about it. And that's enough to get these guys to come tell everybody how you're going too far. This is progressivism. Gone mad. Ultimately, they're both trying to sell you the same lie for the same reason. They both want you to believe that the WEF is taking meaningful and drastic action to prevent climate catastrophe. If you're a conservative and you hear that, you think, well, we got to do something about this. They're making all these big changes and it's going to ruin the economy. If you're a liberal and you hear it, you think, oh, okay, good. They have a plan to fix everything and all we have to do is get the conservatives out of the way and everything's going to be fine. And the conspiracy cranks make any criticism of the World Economic Forum look paranoid by association. Suddenly, anyone who has a problem with the way that they do business is standing shoulder to shoulder with Alex Jones and his peers at Holocaust Lies Exposed. Either way, it benefits the WEF. They get to act like just talking about something they themselves have the ability to meaningfully change is itself activism. If it weren't, why would these guys have such a problem with it? Why would the crankosphere claim that it was some intrusion of our civil rights if, in fact, nothing at all were actually happening? So forget ever actually making big changes. Now it's the bold progressive position merely to acknowledge the need for those changes, to commission a study that looks at why changes might be necessary. Throw your hands in the air and say, we do it if we could. Obviously, we just can't because these backwards folks on the right have tied our hands. We've got to heal our divisions, don't you understand? We need to be on the same page. See, partisanship is out of control. We can't get anything done if we keep fighting like this. So if one side decides, well, we're never going to stop fighting, regardless of the consequences, and they refuse to cooperate no matter what, I guess we're completely incapable of ever doing anything. Oops, oh well, but don't be mad at me. I did my part. I commissioned a study on why 5G towers create social equality. It's called impact investing, and it means that I'm using my money to do good, and also to make more money, which is a coincidence. We need to make people feel like stakeholders in capitalism, because if everyone feels personally invested in capitalism, something environment. To this end, we've gathered together a bunch of millionaires and billionaires, and we're going to show to them a slideshow of info about the melting ice caps, and they'll watch it, because what more can they do, really? And we're starting a conversation about how we can inspire people to get involved in a conversation about inspiring people. And that vapid attempt to distract everyone from the fact that they're the guys causing these problems would read like the dishonest nonsense it is if the loudest fools on the planet weren't complaining that it heralded the end of democracy as we know it, somehow. Walk me through the plan, exactly. They either fake or exaggerate the pandemic. I know you believe that horse shit. I got that part. Then what? They get us to all wear masks, and then they make us wear goggles too. Woo! So what? Even if the pandemic were engineered, do you suddenly just not believe in germ theory? Viruses get into you from your mouth and eyes because they're big holes in your fucking face. Do you not think surgeons should wear masks? Nerve gas is an engineered bioweapon. You gonna interact with nerve gas without putting on a mask first? So okay, they get us to wear masks, even though this virus is a magic virus that somehow bypasses your mouth and teleports into your lungs. Hell, they're gonna make us wear 2 masks now, for no reason. It's not like having more of a boundary between your lungs and the air could do anything to prevent an airborne virus, right? What power does that give them? What does it matter? How do they seize control based on that? Why is it in their interest to get us to do this? What do they get out of it? Is it just to get us used to following orders? Because that'd be a lot easier to do, don't you think? One guy tried to put a bomb in issue, and now we all take off our shoes at the airport. You don't need to engineer a bioweapon and kill millions of people to get people to follow orders, especially if you already have the type of power required to not only engineer such a weapon, but also keep it secret. For that matter, it seems to me that just about everywhere right now, people are willing to protest en masse despite the pandemic. Everywhere from India to the States to Hong Kong, we're seeing huge protests, some of the biggest in history. Stay-at-home orders and social distancing be damned. People will show up in revolt when they get mad, and everyone's really mad. If the globalists are trying to suppress the will of the people, then they're doing a pretty shitty job of it. If they're so powerful and they control everything, and their agenda hinges on sweeping environmental reforms, then how come the spooky Green New Deal that you're so afraid of is such a non-starter? How come neither of the guys running for president supported it, including the guy you all seem to think is in their pocket? If they have the power to enact it without the consent of the governed, What's keeping them exactly? Why does every mainstream politician urge caution in environmental reforms? Why aren't they adopting the radical solutions you're so afraid of? And it's frustrating because they're not wrong to think that a small group of elites is controlling everything and subjugating the rest of us. But it's not the deep state, and it's not lizard aliens, and it's not the New World Order, it certainly isn't satanic cannibal pedophiles, and it definitely isn't Jewish people or international Jewry, if you'd like to pretend there's a distinction between the two, like some anti-Semites do. It's rich people. The rich control the economy. That's so obvious it's barely worth saying. The rich don't want to bring business to a halt. They don't want to weaken the economy. Well, I mean, they do, but not in the way that the conspiracy proposes. See, because the rich have twisted the definition so thoroughly that to weaken the economy in common parlance essentially just means to hurt the bottom line of the rich. They do weaken the economy, but they do it in insidious ways that let them hide behind graphs and statistics to pretend like everybody's doing better. Look, everybody's doing better. Pay no attention to the people who were starving. There were more people starving before we took the food away from them. Just trust us on that one. See, the problem with conspiracy theories like the Great Reset isn't just that it makes people paranoid or scares them. It's that they actively feed into the real agenda of the rich and powerful. If you resist environmental reform and downplay the pandemic, that does the dirty work of the people who profit from exploiting the environment and want everyone to get back to work for them. It isn't a conspiracy. That's just how the world has always worked. Powerful people do what's best for powerful people, and seldomly is that what's best for the rest of us. They don't want to change the status quo. The status quo works very well for them. The status quo is what gave them their power in the first place, and they desperately, violently want to maintain that status quo. Well, hi there. Pull up a chair. Welcome to the Solidarity Corner, friends. This is a segment where I, of my own free will, highlight a small leftist project that needs to be seen. There's nothing unusual about this. Calm down. Hey, I got a fucking video for you. It's called Frantz, Fanon, Blackness, and Gender Identity by Anansi's Book Club. Look, not going to do this one justice by describing it, but the general gist is it's a discussion about the post-colonial philosopher Frantz Fanon, how anti-blackness becomes a sort of mind prison that imposes a sort of white internal critic on black people, and the ways that anti-blackness intersects with gender identity, or rather the European paradigm of gender identity, which through suppression has become the only one that people can see gender through. You're getting a taste of why it is that I'm not going to be able to do this one justice. It's all very complicated, but watching this video, I get the distinct impression that it's going to save somebody's life someday. And those aren't words that I use lightly. So go watch it, you turkeys! Do you have a small leftist project you'd like to see featured here in the Solidarity Corner? Send me no more than one email with the word eyeballs somewhere in the Sorry, what did I just say? Send me no more than one email to thoughtslimeeditor@gmail.com with the word somewhere in the subject line. And pertinent details like your pronouns, and maybe you too will be featured here in the Solidarity Corner. The Solidarity Corner. The Solidarity Corner, 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 the Solidarity. Bet you didn't think I'd make another video, but I did. Gotcha. I win again. Hey, if you liked it, why don't you go ahead and press the cheeky little like button? That'll help me in the algorithm. You can also subscribe here for new videos every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want more videos than that, I got a second channel called Scaredy Cats over at youtube.com/scaredycatstv, where I release a new video about horror movies every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want even more than that, I also stream every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com and twitch.tv/thoughtslime. Both of those places. Boy, that's a lot of things for me to do. And if you have the means and desire to compensate me for it, you can do that over at patreon.com/thoughtslime, where I go to steal money from innocent people.